Hello, good morning. My name is Peter Anderson. I'm a computing support specialist and certified cybersecurity expert. I'm here to this morning tell you some wonderful cautionary tales, to give you some information to help protect yourself in, well, let's just say, an ever scarier digital world. Especially now with current global conditions, scamming is on the up and up, and so it's more important than ever to protect your information and your identity. So, and I also would like to say, I know that you're all coming into school to become medical professionals, and I just want to honor that and say thank you. You have my utmost respect. I know that it's got to be uh, sort of a scary prospect. At least it would be if I were in school for such a thing. But you're pursuing a noble profession, and I'm just so happy that your hearts are clearly there. So thank you guys. So let's get right into it. This is Security is Your Friend. And by the end of this presentation, it is. And I also want to preface this presentation to say this isn't just about this institution. This is information that you can take with you for the rest of your life. It's all kind of it's agnostic of our organization. It's really information for your life to help keep you protected. So I've done this a few times. So this is version 2.0, and let's get started. So first, I'd like to tell you a story about someone that I know who works in the medical profession. They work as a counselor at an institution that is a medical facility. And one day, someone made a mistake, and this mistake ended up with it was basically they made an error. They clicked on the wrong thing, and what ultimately happened is it cost the organization well over $1 million. 6 managers were fired because they could no longer be afforded, and loads of medical records were destroyed forever because someone clicked a link in an email. And I don't know if y'all have heard of ransomware, but ransomware is where a target, a person using a computer, clicks a link, usually in an email, and then suddenly the computer says, there's a big screen that says, all of your files have been encrypted, or you've been caught doing something terrible and all of your files are encrypted, and you need to pay this much money in either Bitcoin or gift cards to get your computer unlocked. And that's a pretty terrible thing. Usually when this happens, it'll get onto the user's computer and they lose all of the files on that particular computer. Well, in this case, someone at the office clicked a link, and instead of the files on their computer being encrypted and held for ransom, the ransomware got through their computer and onto the network of the institution, and it encrypted personal health information. And there are a number of laws that say that personal health information must be available at all times or face massive fines. And that is what happened at this institution. The head of the IT department, after 2 weeks of trying to resolve this, just left his post, just quit, and said, I can't solve this. And this was about 2 years ago, and they're still cleaning up this mess. And hospitals are actually very ripe targets for cyber attacks because they have a lot of valuable information. And can you imagine an entire hospital being basically shut down because their computer network goes down, and they'll only be back up and running with their patient information once a ransom is paid. This kind of stuff does happen, and I can share links with that through the chat at the end, but it's very, very frightening stuff. So it's really, really important that everybody do their part to keep both their data and the data of their organization secure, because it will keep livelihoods safe, and it will actually ultimately keep patients' lives safer by protecting digital information, because keeping your digital information safe is just as important these days as keeping your physical body safe.
I have a quick question. So does that happen if you just open the email, or if you open an email and then you click on the link?
So typically, that will happen after you click a link. Now, when you, just by virtue of opening an email, usually is not enough to get one of those pieces of software to run. A link must be clicked, and we will come around to what to look for in your emails a little bit later in the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly, and I didn't mention this before, but if it's okay, I would like to hold questions until the end, so I can just go through all the information. And if you have a question, just keep it in your mind or write it down, and at the end we'll go into it. That way it keeps me laser focused on our content. So what is it that attackers are after? Well, generally, they're going to go after a few things. They're going to go after your login credentials because that's going to give them access to your personal information, which can be used to steal your identity or steal other things of value, like, as I mentioned earlier, medical records. And it's pretty dystopian, actually, because we think of these hackers as just somebody sitting in a darkened room in Russia somewhere, like stealing this, and then you're not really sure what happens with it afterwards. It gets sold and it's all kind of nebulous, but it's actually really quite horrifying because sometimes large corporations will actually pay those hackers to steal medical information because maybe they need to know more about their potential customer base and how to more easily steal them away from a competitor. And they'll actually hire hackers to steal medical information. So it's not a corporate, horrible dystopia at all. And ultimately, hackers are going to be after money. In one way or another, whether they're selling your personal information, selling your credit card data, selling your medical records. I mean, ultimately, hackers are getting paid for their skills. I mean, a lot of times they'll do it just for their own kind of pride and the organization. Well, the people involved in Anonymous will do it for hacktivist purposes, but a lot of times, really, it's just money, ransom, and stealing personal information. So how is it that these attackers get all of that stuff? Well, we have a number of services that we all love and trust. Whether it's shopping, email, or social media, we are all pretty well enmeshed in a number of these services and platforms. We use them every day, and there's really no avoiding it when you're involved in living a life in a Western style country. So surely all of these companies work very hard to keep themselves safe, and they've never encountered an issue with hackers, right? Well, in 2012, LinkedIn was hacked, and 8 million account credentials were simply cracked. The computer was used to break open 8 million accounts. July 2012, Dropbox, 68 million accounts were compromised because an employee used their same password for work at Dropbox that they had on another website, and the other website got compromised, and so their password was out in the open, and then 70 million Dropbox accounts got compromised with loads of personal data being put at risk. Then in 2013, 250,000 Twitter accounts were hacked. 2014, 5 million Gmail accounts hacked. Google would not say how that happened. Facebook, our beloved Zuckerberg's Facebook, in 2018, 30 million accounts were compromised. But surely Bezos is the holdout, right? Like Amazon's never been hacked. Oh, certainly no. In November of 2018, an unknown number of accounts were hacked simply by accident because an employee just accidentally leaked them. So even though we may take steps to protect our data, even the organizations that we trust can be compromised. So it's important to be aware of our own security posture in our digital life. And you might think, oh well, okay, my Facebook got hacked, but no big deal there. You can change your password. Well, that could be true, but if you're using, say, the same password for your Facebook that you are for your Gmail, maybe it's your dog's name and the year that you got him or her, and then suddenly your email is compromised. And then once an attacker has your email, then pretty much everything's compromised. Certainly your bank, your bank account could be at risk, any of your financial services, any of the websites that you use, because what do you do when you need your password for any website reset? They send you a link to your email. So the email is really like the the holy grail. If somebody has access to your email, they pretty much own your whole life. So it's very important that you secure everything that you have that is online, because one domino falling down could bring down the rest of them. So something that I'd like to touch on, just as far as another way that, or actually really one of the primary ways now that attackers are going after people, especially in the current pandemic that's going on. A lot of attackers are actually using text messages to go after their victims. You may get a random text from an unknown number that says someone that you know, or someone your phone has been near, someone you've been in contact with, has tested positive for COVID-19, and please click this link in order to see who they are or to get more information. Some verbiage that's going to entice you to click that link, because suddenly you're terrified, right? Like suddenly this thing that we're now all constantly anxious about is they're using that to cause fear in your heart. They say, "Hey, you are at risk," and you say, "Oh no." This is kind of a common way to get people to click things, is by making them afraid. Now, one of the more common ways is a tech support scam, just saying, "Hey, your computer is unhealthy." Now they're texting you and saying, "Hey, you could be unhealthy, and you need to click this link in order to get more information." And so you have to be really, really wary of texts that you get from unknown numbers, and scrutinize everything. And really, when in doubt, just don't ever click links. Don't click links that anyone sends you, unless you confirm with that person that they attempted to send that to you. Because when the little indicator comes up, you get really excited. And in the busyness of our days, and especially how enmeshed we are in screens now, even more than before. I mean, my screen time every week has gone way up, because I'm just involved in screens that much more now, with fewer places to go. When I see a little indicator, oh, somebody needs my attention, and I get a spike of dopamine, and I'm really excited to see who it is. Sometimes you just click a link without even thinking, and that's really what scammers are counting on. Really, I mean, since civilization began, scammers rely on sort of counting on you to enter into a non-thinking state. It's kind of how sales works. They basically want to use a lot of fast, lullaby-like language to lull you to sleep and get your brain to just not think anymore, and then click the link that they want you to click, or to buy the thing they want you to buy. It's basic psychological manipulation. So you have to carefully scrutinize any notification that comes up on your phone or your computer. Scammers are also using phone calls these days. They may call you and say, "Yeah, hi, this is so-and-so from Microsoft Technical Support. We've seen that your computer is having a problem, and we need you to install the following app and give us access to this and that." And a lot of times people will do this. I actually had someone I know, they got a phone call from someone that said, "Hey, we see that your Amazon account may have been compromised. We need you to install the following banking apps to make sure that your accounts are safe." And she went to the Android Play Store and installed 3 banking apps, allowed them to remote control her phone as she logged into them, and then she watched her phone as the attackers drained her bank accounts, and then closed and deleted the apps while they were remotely controlling her phone. And then when she realized what was happening and tried to call her bank on her cell phone, the attacker was still in her phone. So she went to call, and they would use their computer to hit the hang up button on the phone, and it would disconnect her from her bank. Now, she was able to recover, but I mean, that's the level that attackers will stoop to steal from you. So if you see a phone call from an unknown number, let them leave a voicemail, and then you're in a calmer state to know. I personally, when I see a phone call coming in from a number that I don't know, I get a major wave of anxiety, and I just ignore it. And then I just let it go to voicemail, and then I can, in my calm down state, see who it is. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Call me paranoid. It could just be me. But it's important to just ignore most calls. And really, you'll be better off for it. You don't really want to be doing a lot of talking on the phone anyway. It's just more stressful than it's worth. But yeah, attackers are using the telephone a lot. Uh, in that vein, you might see a window like this pop up on your computer where it says your computer is encountered an error. But if you look closely here up at the top, you can see it's in a web browser. So it's not necessarily your computer saying, and then it tells you to call a number as well. And then when you call the number, they claim to be from Microsoft, but of course they're not. If you see a window like this come up on your computer, just if close the window, just close the window. And if you can't close the window, just turn your computer off, turn it back on, and then that window will be gone. These are not real. If you do happen to let someone into your computer and remotely control it, because they're telling you that your computer's compromised, they'll frequently take you to this window. This is just a program that's built into Windows that is there to monitor what's going on your computer. And yeah, they'll say, oh, look, it says critical. It says critical and it says error. And you say, oh no, critical. I don't want it to be critical. I want it to be constructive criticism. Why is it critical? And you think your computer's broken. Of course it's not. Your computer has processes that fail and go funny all the time, but they'll show you this and try to scare you. So don't let anybody frighten you into giving up control of your computer or information. Is everybody with me? I can only see the same three people. Just wave if you can hear me, and if you're feeling it, if you're feeling more secure, or if you're feeling more frightened. Yeah, yeah, okay. Because yeah, it's meant to be a little bit scary. It's kind of scary out there, but it's okay because we're gonna have some tactics by the end of this. So just to review, don't answer unfamiliar calls. You don't want to be talking to some stranger on the phone anyway. What could they possibly want? They're not going to give you something. They clearly want something. So just don't answer the phone. Don't offer your personal information. This goes for phone, email, texting, someone on the street. Just don't give up your personal information to anyone. And then yeah, just don't believe anybody. Just don't believe them. If they tell you, hey, your car's on fire, we have to get you out of here, you've been in an accident, just be sure you question them first. Make sure you can smell the fire before you let them extract you from the car. And if you have a doubt about who they are, just offer, what, I'll look up the main office and call them. It's better for you to make an outgoing call to a listed number on a company's website than to just trust someone saying they're from a company. All right, so now we're going to get into some prevention tactics, and we're going to go into 4 easy modules. The first one's going to be physical security. Second one is going to be very good browsing information. That is my favorite part of the whole thing because after this session that we're having right now, your web browsing is going to be so much better because of the one tip I give you that this entire Zoom call will have been worth it. I don't know how the rest of your day is going in here. I'm sure it's good. But I, the gift that I will give you is good browsing. We're going to talk about password hygiene and how to have a strong password and to lock that down. And we're going to talk about how to keep your data safe because I've been a support person for 8 years and I've had a lot of people at my desk crying because they lost precious data that they'd been working on for months and months. Now, most of them were not my fault. I've only had a couple people where I accidentally misplaced data, but that's all the more reason, because I'm human, but it's all the more reason to protect your data. Even tech people make mistakes at times because we're all just flawed human sacks of meat. So we're not perfect, right? So all right, let's get into it. We're going to dive right into physical security first. So scenario number 1, you've got your laptop. Now bear in mind, obviously, a lot of facilities are on lockdown, but a lot of them are going to reopen soon. And just like I was saying that scams are on the rise these days, over the phone and over text and everything, given that everyone has just a higher degree of paranoia and anxiety nowadays, scams in real life are there's no reason to think that they're not going to be on the rise too, because right now the entire world population is just more vulnerable. We're just more vulnerable. I mean, you think about it. You go out for a walk in the park and you might just happen to see someone and suddenly you're afraid, and attackers prey on fear. So locking down your stuff physically is going to be important as things reopen and as we go out into the world. So these are important tips to bear in mind. So Scenario number one, you've got a laptop, it's in an office or a facility or somewhere, even your home. Thief comes along and sees your device is not secured, it's just sitting on a table. They're going to be able to abscond with it very easily. It happens in offices and schools all the time, all the time. So uh, you really have to be vigilant when it comes to not leaving your devices anywhere. So what's a good prevention method? Well, a laptop lock is a nice deterrent. It's not exactly physically going to stop someone if they really, really want it, but it is going to deter an opportunistic theft because they might see a lock and say, all right, that's going to take more than 3 seconds to steal, so I'm not going to do it. Um, Locking your things in a drawer in your room or office is definitely going to be a great deterrent because that's going to require time and effort to bust into. And in this scenario, the door to your office, to your dorm room, to your apartment is locked and the thief can't get in and your stuff is locked away and not enticing anybody to come in anyway. So kind of keeping things hidden is a good method. If you do have your computer out in public somewhere or in a classroom or a lab, it is best practice to keep your screen locked when you walk away from it because data theft can occur by simply walking up to somebody's computer. And a lot of times people leave their browser logged into their email, logged into their social media, and you just open a browser window, hit G, it loads Gmail, you hit enter, and then you're already logged in. So if you do leave your computer in a place that's accessible to other human beings, locking your screen is a great start. And that definitely goes for lab computers. If we do ever make it back into computer labs, making sure that you lock the screen or log out when you're done. So just something to remember for the future whenever we're back in social situations. I don't know when that will be. Um, if you happen to go to a cafe with your mask and your PPE on, and I'm sure they won't let you sit in there, so this slide isn't exactly relevant anymore. But, you know, again, just in the future, just never leave your devices out for any period of time because they will be stolen at some point. So anyway, that's just a quick rundown of physical security. Keep your stuff hidden and don't leave it anywhere. I mean, I remember when I was in college 50 years ago and someone left their laptop in the library. You know, you're trusting of your fellow students. Certainly they're not going to steal, but they did, and their laptop was lost. All right, so physical security. Now we're going to go into browsing. Web browsing. We do it every day. We love our web browsers. You know, represented here are all of the popular browsers, some modern, some not so modern. So the first tip is if you are still using this one, you need to stop doing that and you need to get yourself a modern browser. Now, I don't necessarily recommend Edge. It is the new Blue E that Microsoft offers. Privacy, your best browser is not this one, it's the one past this one. But my hand kind of disappears off the edge here. I can't quite point to it, but Firefox. Firefox is your most privacy-minded web browser. So if you're into security and privacy, Firefox is your best bet. If you're into convenience and a large corporation tracking your every move, Google Chrome is your friend. But update your browser. Don't use an old one because they're really easy to compromise old browsers. Again, slide with a little bit less relevance now, but it will be a little bit more relevant as things reopen. Don't use public Wi-Fi. Don't trust it ever. Just use your cell data and just don't use it because it is very, very easy for what is called a man in the middle to intercept your data. Now, of course, this is a bit less relevant as people are not sitting out in cafes anymore. At least I hope they're not. But if you happen to be, I don't know, in Florida at the beach, in a beach town, and you're at a nightclub, don't use their public Wi-Fi because I mean, really, even under non-pandemic circumstances, you don't really want to be doing that. But definitely, don't use public Wi-Fi if you can avoid it. Next thing, update your browsers. Keep your browsers up to date. If they say they have an update to offer, usually those are security related. So it's important to keep your browsers up to date and your computer. Don't just click ignore all the time. I know updates do sometimes break things, but the trade-off is that you are usually getting a lot of security patches. Um, in computer updates and software updates. Yes, it can break functionality and then it'll patch it again. I know it's annoying, but in general, it's a good practice. So here's my favorite part of this whole thing. If you remember anything, if you're right now, if you're not paying attention, this is the thing that I need you to pay attention to. If you're zoning out on this Zoom call, this is the thing that you need to pay attention to right now from your home or from wherever it is that you are, because this is about making your web browsing not have ads in it. This is the thing that I believe in the most, because ads are terrible. And this function can actually take ads out of YouTube. It can take ads out of your web browsing, and it just makes your web browsing that much more exciting. And it has a little counter that shows you how many ads you're killing. I just love it. It's the best. It even shows you. So here's an example. Here's a website, healthy smoothie recipes. I went to this website with high hopes of making smoothies. The stuff's just still in my freezer, but I mean, that's fine. But you can see there's eyes for makeup, ads for eyes for makeup. There's ads for eye makeup. There are ads that look like content. Some of these little smoothie things. Oh, here's another ad for socks. More mascara ads. I mean, the page is littered with ads, and they're pretty good at getting your attention. However, with our ad blocker enabled, this is the same website after I turned on the ad blocker and hit refresh. Notice that first ad that was here, that was taking up most of the space, gone, gone. All those makeup ads on the side, just removed, just totally out of your attention. So it's better for your mental health, I think, to see fewer ads. And then it's just a good practice. So that brings us to some more web tips. If your browser offers to save your password, you can use it. It's not the most secure practice. There's a better way to have your passwords remembered in your browser than letting your browser do it. There's actually a third-party tool that you can use that is just because browser data can be stolen from your computer. Um, and so saving it in the browser on your local machine is risky. It is still something that I do because I haven't quite made the leap yet. But best practice would be don't let your browser remember your passwords. If you're browsing and you see a website that says this page is not secure, be extremely careful about putting in any information into any fields on that website, because anything that you're typing and sending to that website is not being sent encrypted, which means if someone intercepts it, they've got it. So typing a password into a site like that is an absolute no. You don't want to do that. I mean, some websites are just quaint and old and they don't have this, but if you need to communicate with someone on a website like that, usually they're a small business and they'll just provide you an email address anyway, and then it's just much safer to email them. But you don't want to use really any forms that they have on their website, because that data is easily intercepted. If your web browser opens and looks like this, you have a problem. This is not a normal search engine. If you see that your parents' web browser looks like this, you need to tell them to seek professional help immediately, because their computer has been hijacked by adware. This is not good. You don't want to see this. This is almost as bad as seeing Yahoo as your homepage. You just don't want it. If it's some unknown search engine, that's not good. If you want privacy, set your homepage to DuckDuckGo. If you want a search engine that works, set it to Google. But they will be stealing all of your information. Google has all of your information. They have trackers that run on every website, and Google has everything that you click. They know how fast you scroll. They know how you type into certain things. They can identify you simply by how fast you type. That is the level that we are at with Google. Okay. On to our next thing. So this is super important. This is about phishing. This is what to look for in emails. It's super important to analyze every single email that you receive. Just for a few seconds, you get into the practice of just checking. Look up here. This is made to look like it's from Amazon. Look at the sender address. That does not say Amazon.com. It says efficaciouscrbays.xyz. Well, that's not Amazon.com, but they have the Amazon logo, and you see the Amazon logo, and you go, "Oh, my package is here! Yay!" And then you don't think. Again, you're in the brainwaves where you're not thinking, and you're just happy that Amazon the Bezos, the great Lord Bezos, has shown you personal attention, and they need to let you know something about your parcel that's on the way. Aren't you excited to open a package? I am. So it's important to just get in the practice of just checking your sender address to just make sure that it's functional, because what could happen if you just click a link? Your entire company could have people fired from it. You could lose health information, and your whole hospital could shut down, and people could die. Seriously, that happens. So check every link. Just get in the practice of being an email ninja. You get an email, you just check that send address first. And once you're practiced at it, it'll only take you a couple seconds to do it when when you are conducting yourself on your computer. This email is actually one from within our organization that a very dear friend of mine got the email. I think they did click the link. I don't think anything bad happened as a result, thankfully. But they after they clicked the link, then they called me and said, oh God, I think I clicked on something bad. And I said, yeah, okay, well, let's take a look. And it was. And if you look at it, says from IT desk. It says from IT desk. Well, you can make your first name IT and your last name help desk and register a thing at mail.com. I did it for one of the security videos that I'll send you a link to at the end of this easily. So I can send something that when it gets to your inbox, it'll say from IT help desk. And if you're not paying attention to which IT help desk or what the domain was, unless the domain is from your organization, why would some random help desk be sending you something? Anyway, this one is super enticing because it says attachment. Just the word attachment gets me all tingly because I can't wait to see what the prize is when I click the word attachment. Could it be I don't know what it could be. Could it be a family photo? I don't know. It's so fun. It's an attachment. It's a bonus on your email. You don't have to read. You can look at something. It's so exciting. So when you see something that has an attachment, just be extra careful. Okay, so let's review web browsing. Update and upgrade your browser for sure. Use a modern browser. Use an ad block. It's the most fun thing. I can't wait for you to do it and then send me emails. If you do this, please send me an email. I would so love to hear how much you like not having ads on your internet anymore. Don't store your passwords in your browser. That's just generally, I know, again, I just do as I say, not as I do. I'm trying to get into it. We're going to talk about the solution for storing your passwords in the next unit. Log out of your browser, especially if you're using a computer that's used by many people. Well, first of all, sanitize your hands, but also log out, because if you leave a computer just sitting there with you logged into your email, then someone who's knowledgeable could walk up to it and own your life. And don't use public Wi-Fi. Not so much an issue anymore since many of us are still stuck at home, but if you happen to go somewhere, don't just trust their Wi-Fi just because it's there and has the name of the place. In one of my first lectures, I actually brought a little Wi-Fi antenna and made a fake network and had everybody join it and type in a password, and then I showed them how I had all of that at the end of it. It's really neat. And then some people on the floor below me actually did join it and gave up their actual passwords, and I had to erase it all. And yeah, it's very effective. So don't trust any public Wi-Fi. I honestly didn't expect people to legitimately join it, and they did. Avoiding scams, just carefully analyze communication. I put emails, but it goes for texts, phone calls. Just it's like a moment. It's like mindfulness. Y'all wave your hand if you've studied mindfulness, and then maybe one of the three people I can see. No? Well, mindfulness is great because the whole thing is about pausing from reacting to all the stimulus you're getting and just coming into your body for a moment, taking a breath and taking a moment to actually pay attention to what's going on around you. And that's when you get a communication, take a moment to pay attention to it, because if you don't, it could be dangerous. Don't share info on websites that say they're insecure. HTTP versus HTTPS. You'll see the little padlock corner icon in the corner of your browser, and usually modern browsers will tell you, "Hey, this page isn't secure." Check the address bar. If you see a link in an email, take a look at that link and see, does that link take me to Amazon.com or does that link take me to AmazonSuperDuperSales.net? And if it takes you to AmazonSuperDuperSales.net, don't click it. But if it takes you to Amazon.com, it's more likely to be safe. But really, that can be spoofed as well. So clicking links in general is not always safe. Just make sure that you pay attention to it first, and if it looks fishy, then ask the person who sent it or purportedly sent it. And never share your private information over the phone, over the text, over the email. No legitimate organization will ever just contact you out of the blue and say, "Hey, we're doing a password audit and we need to make sure that your password is strong." No one legitimate is ever going to do that unless it's me. But seriously, nobody is ever going to just ask you for information out of the blue. It's just not going to happen. All right, so that covers web browsing. What do we remember, class? Ad blocking and all the other stuff I said. This will be on YouTube eventually, and I'll send the link to Mary so that you can review if should you ever feel the need to brush up on this. But ad blocking is really it's the best part. Okay, so let's get into passwords now. We know them, we love them, we love our passwords. We all know how passwords work. You go to the website or the service that you want to use. You enter your pet's name and the year that they were born and exclamation point, and then you press enter, and then it takes you into the website, right? And everybody's happy and it's safe forever, and you're super well guarded, aren't you? Not exactly. It's not quite. And there's a whole lot to passwords. Passwords in themselves, they're not great. They're just one sort of, if you think of like you're trying to guard your castle, right? And you could have like a fence, like or a wall or a fence or whatever, and it might keep out passers by or whatever. A password is not really a great fence. It's easily skipped over. It's easily stolen or guessed, especially if your password isn't a very good one, like your pet's name and the year they were born and exclamation point. If you have that as your password, I beg you, please change your password to something just even a little bit more complicated than that. Okay, and we're going to get into that in a moment. They're just one low fence in a series of low fences that will help protect your castle. So it's not about having the best fence, it's just about having a few of them. Okay, so this is not a good password. If you use this as a password anywhere, including your luggage, change that. I had this on my luggage for years, and it's just not a good password, especially for your digital stuff, because a computer is going to try this instantaneously. Any computer that's being used to crack passwords, this is in the bank of known passwords it's going to try immediately, as is this one. Okay, you're adding letters and numbers. All right, you're fancy. Not really. Even this one looks fancy. It's not fancy. Don't things that are kind of easily guessed sequences are not good passwords. This is not my mom's password for anything. I have taught her well, so just don't even try to hack into my mom's stuff because that's not her password. Okay, so here we're getting into something a little bit more complicated. Yeah, they're still dictionary words. We've substituted some letters for symbols. A computer could still guess this. It's not ideal, but it is better. Plus, it's a little bit longer. So you're getting a little bit better when you use something like that. Ultimately, what you want to use, if you can, isn't really a password at all. And of course, different websites have different limitations. I know at our organization, we're limited to like 12 characters, which ultimately makes me really sad because what I'm about to say is flies in the face of that. But when you can, rather than using a password, use a passphrase. They're much easier to remember, and I'm going to prove it to you right now because this looks long. Oh my God, it's so many letters. Let's break it down, okay? And I'll get to the reasons why a phrase is better after we break this down. But first, let me just calm your fears about why these are difficult to remember. So what does this say? Blah, 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 blah. Well, let's break it down. Okay, so what we've got is Orange Squirrel Cake Parade. Now, you might say, well, who's going to remember that? Well, just let me paint a picture for you. Perhaps you've got just hundreds of thousands of orange squirrels, each holding a cake, on parade. Maybe you've got a giant balloon that's an orange squirrel holding a cake in a parade. Or maybe you've got orange squirrels that are also cakes somehow. They're squirrel cakes, and they're orange, and orange cake sounds pretty good. And maybe you're watching a parade, eating an orange cake, and a squirrel is trying to steal it. So I've just painted you 3 pictures that are going to cause you to never forget this passphrase. I don't think anybody watching this is now going to ever have that erased from your brain. I'm really sorry. But just come up with something that can be used as a long phrase for things, and it's going to be much more secure. Because anything that's longer than 16 characters would take a computer so long to crack that it's going to be a secure password. But of course, if your password gets stolen, it doesn't matter how complicated it is. If you use even a line of gibberish, if somebody knows what the gibberish is that you're using, then your password's pretty much compromised. So just a quick review, use a password that's longer than 16 characters when possible. Use a phrase. Don't use Orange Squirrel Cake Parade because this video is going to be public. So if someone uses that password, that's pretty much compromised at this point. Don't use any personal information in your password. You definitely don't want to have like your birth date or your home city or anything that's information that could be scrubbed from the internet. Don't include that in your password. Pets' names. You don't want to have your pets' names or your relatives' names or your parents' names or your children's names. You don't want those included in your passwords. Use numbers and symbols when you can. And don't use passwords across different services. Don't use the same password for your email that you use for another email or your Facebook or your school login or your work login. You have to have a different password for everything. And I know that could be scary to remember, but I have a great way that you're going to be able to do that. All right, so we have all of our services. How do we want to protect them? With a strong password for each of them. That's going to lock up our services securely, but it's really hard to remember a whole bunch of gibberish and different gibberish for each service. So how could we possibly have the most secure password or passphrase possible for all of our services and remember them all? And your browser's not remembering your passwords, because I said that that's not the safest way to do it. And the way you do that is a password manager. Some of them are available for free. Some of them are available for a small monthly, way cheaper than Netflix fee. But they're super duper worth it because what they do is they'll hold all of your passwords in an encrypted file on their server. So if somebody ever broke into their servers, they'd have a bunch of encrypted useless information. You request it using a main password. It comes down to your computer. You open your secret diary with the little key thing, and you have all your list of passwords. The program fills it into your browser automatically, and you're good to go. So I'll give you a quick demonstration. This one is LastPass. It's really great. It'll show you all the sites that you have passwords stored for. It also allows you to store, like you could type in credit card information that would be stored securely should you ever need it or lose your card, social security numbers, all of this stuff. You can actually keep kind of like a digital virtual cloud safe of all your stuff. That cannot be, they don't even have the secret key to your stuff, only you do. So these services are very cool. So what does it look like? You have all of your trusted services that aren't stealing your information or analyzing how your brain works or knowing that if they show you the color red on a Tuesday that you'll buy a Coca-Cola on a Friday. They're definitely not working on that at all. Or what your body movements look like, your facial expressions. TikTok's not collecting any of that stuff. I really ought to put that logo in here too. Anyway, you've got all of your wonderful non-dystopian trusted services all locked up with a really secure password managed by your password manager. You have one passphrase of Orange Squirrel Cake Parade to rule them all. You type that in, and then the service unlocks your different sites for you. That's the best method to keep all of your passwords safe. And again, if your password gets compromised, then if the password is all that you need to get into a website, that's really a problem. So you always, when possible, pair it with two-factor authentication. Again, once you get practiced at it, it doesn't take you any extra time, and believe me, it's gonna spare you a lot of heartache, because using a mobile device or a USB key as a second factor to get you into a website is wonderful. Because if a password gets compromised from a website, you say, all right, well, the thief has my password, but they can't get in, and that gives you ample time to change your password, because they would need, say, your phone to get in. But be careful, if you're on the phone with a tech support person, they might say, okay, a code is being sent to your phone right now. Please tell me what the code is. If somebody's asking you what your multi-factor code is and it isn't me, they are hacking you. They are hacking you. If anybody's asking you, hey, what's your multi-factor code that you've got right now, you are being hacked. Don't give them the code. The code is not what you want to give them, because you're being hacked. But once you have these two things, your password and another factor, you are far more secure. They make apps that will give you a code. Those codes all expire within about 30 seconds to a minute. They change. And then that code paired with your password is never valid ever again. So yeah, I think this one is Google Authenticator. There are also open source ones. If you don't want to be in the Google Hive mind, you can get open source um, two-factor authentication apps. But a lot of times you can just get a code texted to you. Getting a code texted to you can be not only spoofed if someone has it sent to you and they are on the phone with you, but they can also actually spoof your phone number and get it sent to them. So there are ways, there's all kinds of ways. If someone really wants to hack you, they're going to do it. So that's why it's good to not be low-hanging fruit in the collection of citizens in the digital world. So passwords, use a good password. Don't use passwords across different services. Use a password manager. Always enable two-factor when possible, and never just tell anyone your password unless it's me. But just don't tell anybody your password if they ask you what your password is. It's not going to be legitimate. And really, even tech people are trained not to ask for passwords. It's just not a secure practice. And don't put your passphrase on a sticky note and leave it with your computer. I have seen that happen a lot. Or similarly, don't keep a file on your computer called passwords, like a Word file called passwords. I've seen that one as well. You don't want to do that. Go and sign up for a password manager and use their little document storage feature to keep that file. Never keep that file as like a document on your computer, because if you leave it around, it's as good as stolen. Okay, so that covers passwords. We're going to go into our final module of this lecture. This is about how to secure your data. Yay! It's really, really, really important because, as I've mentioned, I've had a number of different people crying in my face about how their stuff is gone. Some of them really were stoic about it and kind of just bit the tears, like, it's okay. It's okay. I don't have a backup, but it's okay. And other people just full on melted down because they lost their stuff. It's extremely upsetting to lose your work. Losing your computer or your phone is one thing. I mean, we're going to have tons of computers and phones throughout our lives. They come and go. But losing the stuff that you've been putting your energy and heart and soul into is devastating. It really is. I mean, it's like you feel a grief and a loss that is really, really bad. And for those of you in my virtual audience here who have experienced this, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't experienced it yet, I want to help you not experience it the hard way, because it really sucks. Okay. So everybody knows what this is. I should think this is a hard drive. Nowadays, most computers have solid state drives, but this symbol is universally recognized as where all of your stuff is. This is the device that holds all of your precious items on your computer. Everything that you download, everything that you type up, everything that you do on your machine is held by a storage device. So if you have a laptop, you've got a storage device inside of it. If you've got a desktop, you have a storage device inside of it. Any computer has local storage, and usually we throw things on our desktop. Hopefully, it looks this good at least. So I'm a thief. I come along and I take your data. That's one of the easiest ways for data to be lost that we've just covered. What's another way? Your hard drive just breaks. I cannot tell you, especially with mechanical drives. It's not as common with modern flash storage, which is in most computers. But they also, any electronic device can fail, and will fail. You have to really look at it like your device will eventually fail. And as we said, computers will come and go. They'll get lost. They'll get broken. You'll have a number of them throughout your life. It's the stuff you do with it that's precious, and that's what we want to make sure we don't just have in one place. So here's a scenario. You've got your laptop with all of your precious files on it. A thief comes along. They run away with your laptop. They're going to be pretty happy because now they've got your computer, which has value, and they've got your data. And if they're a clever thief, they are going to be really happy to have your data because they can steal more from you than just your laptop. Another scenario, you have your laptop and it falls off of the desk. Well, what happens to your files when your laptop hits the deck? Well, maybe nothing. Maybe someone knowledgeable can get your storage device out of there and take your stuff, but maybe not. Maybe it's built into the motherboard. Maybe you spill spill coffee on it, maybe you spill whiskey on it, maybe you spill Coca-Cola. Doesn't matter what beverage it is that you spill on it, it could cause data loss. So you have to think of your computer as a living thing with an expiration date. It's just the nature of machines. Another scenario, you've got your computer, and now you've got an ally for your data. You've got an external device. This could be a thumb drive or an external hard drive, and you've got copies of your data both on your computer and on the external hard drive, so that if a thief comes along, they're still going to be stoked to have your laptop, and it sucks to lose it, and you will feel horrible and violated, and it's upsetting. However, that blow is going to be softened because you've still got your data somewhere else, the stuff that you've been working on, the stuff that's important. Because you'll get a new laptop in time. Another scenario, you've got your data on your laptop and your hard drive. Laptop breaks, files go with it. Guess what? You've still got your external device. You get yourself a new computer. You make a copy of your stuff over to the new computer, and you feel better again. Purchasing new laptops heals all wounds, even though it stinks to lose your device. All right, so what is the best way to really have all of your data? Because there's a saying when it comes to preparing for things, and I don't know, I'm not a prepper at all, but there's a saying that 2 is 1 and 1 is none, and 3 is more than that. I think I got that right. Anyway, you want to be using the cloud as well. Or a secondary storage device. Could be another external hard drive, but the cloud is just another good third option. So that you have your data on 2 physical devices, and then the other one you send off to somebody else for them to manage. Or you build a home cloud like I did at the beginning of the quarantine. That was a really fun project, and now I have sitting on my network my very own kind of cloud where I can back things up. It's important to take a look at and know the policies of the companies that you're uploading data to. That one on the end there, Google, they're gonna scrub every document that you type into it and read it all and use it to advertise to you. iCloud, I don't think does that. It's important to actually look up the policies. If you're using, say, Dropbox, if you have a free Dropbox account, that data isn't even stored in the United States. Google's information, if you use Gmail, that could just be moved to a data center that's not in the United States and then moved back, and suddenly that data ownership is now kind of nebulous. So when it comes to really, really precious data, you probably either want to use a home cloud, and those are not too complicated. You can order like a thing that just plugs into your router, and then it pops up on your computer like an external hard drive. And there's great software that automatically backs up all your stuff to them. But that is like truly you have ownership of your data and you're not entrusting it to a third party. It's just important to be aware that they have different policies, and data ownership isn't simply, well, you have a Google Drive and that data is yours. No, now it belongs to Google. The other important thing to do with your files on any device, whether it's an external hard drive, your internal hard drive, and the cloud does it automatically, but you want to encrypt your stuff. You want to encrypt your entire laptop. And the reason that you want to do that is if a thief were to come along and steal your stuff, if your computer is password protected, that's one layer of data encryption. But you also want to encrypt your entire local device, because if your device isn't encrypted, there are ways to get around just your needing a password to get into your computer. Just having a password doesn't really protect your computer from data theft. But if a thief makes off with your computer and your entire hard disk is encrypted, yeah, they have the value of the laptop, but all they can do with it is erase the internal drive and then resell the laptop, and they don't have access to any of your stuff. And there are a couple of, you see the thief is not happy about it, as indicated by the frowny face. Windows has one built in. It's called BitLocker. All you do is it generates a private key that you then back up to maybe LastPass, maybe somewhere safe. And Apple has one built in called File Vault. So you have built-in solutions, no excuses not to encrypt your entire disk. It just generates a password for you. Again, you want to use a very, very good password that you will not forget for that. So what does a really great data security posture look like, where you will have the best access to your data will always be stored confidentially, and it will always, it will not be tampered with, you want to have it in 3 places, some kind of cloud, an external device, and your laptop, and you want all of them encrypted and all of your stuff encrypted. You can encrypt external devices so that if any of them ever are compromised or stolen, the data is useless, and all they get is the device, and the stuff that you've been working so hard on is protected. All right, so data review. Backup your files. Always have a backup of your files. Backup your files. This is, again, maybe, I mean, I still like the AdBlock thing as the most important thing to remember from this, but honestly, this is more important. Having a backup of your files is actually more important than blocking ads. I know, but you have to have your stuff in more than one location. I've seen so many computers that all the stuff's just on the desktop and nowhere, it doesn't exist anywhere else. It's really, really, really risky to do that. It's really risky. If you have something on your desktop, it should be something that is a shortcut to something else. And I know a lot of people say, well, it's just what I'm working on currently. Well, then what you're working on currently is at risk. So make sure that anything that is important gets put into a separate place. Encrypt your devices so that if somebody gets a hold of it, that super top secret, thesis that you've been working on is protected. And store your files in the cloud, whether it's at home or a third party. Doing it at home is a great way for you to maintain personal ownership. However, you now have to take responsibility of administrating a device that is your home cloud. So, and it's not going to be available to you when you're out somewhere else, visiting someone with your mask on somewhere. So the cloud provides convenience. I mean, there are ways to do it. There are ways for you to be able to get to your home network from elsewhere. It's just it takes a bit of effort. Okay, so we have now completed all of our modules. I just want to honor all of you for paying. At least the 3 people that I can see seem to be paying attention. So I just want to honor Lyle and you're the 3 people that I could see. So thank you for paying attention, or at least looking like you were paying attention the whole time. Thank you for that. I hope that everybody else was entertained by this. And now that you are all 100% safe and secure for life, I really would like to just say that it's really been an honor to be able to present to you today. I don't know how much time we've got. Oh, it's about 11:30, so I'm sorry we didn't have time for questions, but I'll put my email address in the chat so that you can email me with any questions. And I just want to say thank you. Now you're all completely secure forever. And there's really, now we can resume using all of the services that we trust, the services that we love, those services that really are doing a lot of good in the world. They're there to help us. They're there to make us feel good. They're there for us to like them. It's very important that we have all of the hearts and all of the likes constantly flowing, because that is what keeps our precious, precious economy moving. And without things that we like, then what would we like? We can't go outside and like things. What we like is our phone screens, and what we like are our computer screens. So again, I just want to thank you all for joining me today. It's really been an honor. Stay alert, stay safe in every way, and thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Peter. That was really informative and entertaining as well. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I've been one of those people that cried on Peter. I lost my stuff on my desktop.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's rough when that
happened.
happens. It's really
Yeah.
rough when that happens. So.
Yeah, it does. Well, thanks again.
Well, thank everybody. Thank you all for joining me. I'm going to put my email address in the chat. If anybody has any questions, just feel free to email me today, and I'll try to get back to you. And thank you all so much. It's been really nice to see you. I hope to, I don't know, help somehow in the future with you guys. So, all right.
Take care, Peter.
You too.